Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 38. Today, we will be taking things easy, mostly finishing up small tasks around the Republic, finalizing the infrastructure for the new power plant, fine-tuning things here and there, things like that. I will also scout out an area for a potential new farming zone. I noticed that the current silos are starting to come rather close to being emptied out by the time the autumn harvest comes in. So, that is what the most likely next project going to be. Let's not forget about the new houses we built in the last episode. They need a bit of decoration around them, and I did test out some potential options. I'm not sure they will be as aesthetically pleasing as the previous ones we did, but they will do the job. Apart from those, we will continue out efforts to keep this machine chugging along, by making small changes and adjustments here and there. First things first, we will need to do something about this one cable tower. I did mention in the last episode, that the bus stop will be in the way of a small issue, and this is what I meant. Unfortunately, the only way to get it built will be with road vehicles. Helicopters cannot land here. And getting the dirt roads to cooperate took me longer than I expected. Next on the agenda, that little forest I'd like to give to the woodcutting station. As I said before, I'll just remove this field, replace it with 2 medium ones, and fill the remaining area with trees. That should be enough for quite a while. I also wanted to go through the list of delivery routes, and name the new ones, and make sure that everything is working as intended. That mostly means that we have line spacing enabled wherever possible. Since it's a bit of a tedious part, I'll just increase the speed a bit more to get it over with. With that out of the way, I will also disallow passengers in the latest bus stop in Mikhailovia. I only want workers to use this service. People in their off days should have all the services they need in walking distance. And here comes the turnaround I promised for this junction. It is mostly for the benefit of the electronics distribution train, but I think even the steel train can take advantage of it from time to time. I will only add tracks for trains coming from the left. The ones coming from the right can already turn around by going through the passenger station, although there are no lines currently that would require to do so. That will work for us just fine. I'll go straight for catenaries. For such small projects, I don't mind a bit of back and forth. Okay, let's see what we can do around here. First, I'll add some extra roads around the area. It's easier to fill up an empty field with decorations if you have well-established boundaries to work in. And this is the layout I decided to go with here. A simple asphalt walkway going to the road I just placed. The tricky part was trying to line up these ground textures in a way that would give us these white borders around the corners. See, it's not as straightforward as I would have liked. Okay, next I will fill in the little squares with gravel. And of course, those little plazas are perfect for monuments and playgrounds. I will even place two of the smallest ones in one of them. Thankfully, they will not require footpaths. The helicopters have enough room to land this time. As the final touch, I'll pepper the area with trees and bushes, and see how things turn out once they are all grown up. I only need to make sure to stay clear of the ground textures I just placed. They can still have plants growing out of them, so going crazy with the tree brush can result in some weirdness. Since we added those 3 pretty big houses, our prison population increased a bit. We might have to add a third one in an episode or two. Okay, so this cable tower got built. We will only need to make sure to tell workers arriving to the area to use the cable station as a possible workplace that will take them up the mountain to work in the mine. Of course, all this work is for the benefit of this coal-fueled power plant. I already know what to do with all the power it will give us. The 4 medium voltage outlets will go straight into our rail network. The high voltage facing the mountain will most likely go to the NATO border, so we can start selling power to the west for some dollars. We will need it to buy the different blueprints that we will use in the vehicle assembly plant in the future. We cannot use raw coal as fuel, so we will need a processing plant to turn it into proper coal. And since it's such a big boy, we will need to make some room for it on this hillside. Not even close. For now, we only need to connect it to the raw coal storage. I still need to add another aggregate facility for the processed goods. This power line is in the way again. I should stop rebuilding it while there are other work that need doing. I will only need to add one more conveyor engine tower to complete the chain. I got a few new models from the workshop. This one has both the inlet and outlet on top, so it's easier to use around roads. I will fiddle with the roads a bit. As usual, thanks to the rather wide turns required, maneuvering with roads in tight spaces is quite hard. I will start with the easy connections, and worry about the rest later. Maybe if I leveled out the terrain a little bit. I really shouldn't be bothering with the road with this one. We have helicopters to build it, and for fire safety too. As for the bus stop, I'll try to look for a suitable place, but in the end, I will just place it where I originally had it. As it turns out, we only needed to remove it while the last cable tower got built. Connecting up the footpaths, however, that was a bit trickier. Usually, they have a much higher tolerance for elevation changes on the terrain, but this was too much, even for them. There we go. With this, everything should be in walking distance. All the monuments are done, except for one. To speed it up, I'll just add a temporary footpath, increase the number of workers who can walk in from the street, and finish it that way. All the helicopters are too busy around the new power plant, so let's not bother them with this small thing. And that's that. As I said, we are getting close to the limits of our food production. Let's look for a suitable place for the next farming zone. Fortunately for us, there is a colossal empty flatland right behind Electrograd. There are no resource deposits anywhere near it, so it is the perfect place for the job. For road connection, this should be the most logical place. I would like to avoid going through Electrograd itself, that place is already too busy with road traffic as it is. As for where to bring in trains, that's a whole other can of worms. I think I will use that long stretch near Lukovo for the junction, right between the rail CO and the lumber yard. But I didn't go beyond this point in this episode. I will just place this area name tag for now, reminding me what I have planned. I would like to concentrate on the next part of the episode, namely this level crossing. It is way too busy, both for trains, and for road vehicles. To stop it from blocking the buses, I will need to build an overpass. Shocking, I know. My first attempt will be to build a 2-bridge setup. I wanted to include an off-ramp for the area on the other side of the main line. But eventually, I will abandon that plan, and just go over the triple tracks going into Electrograd. When we reach the point where we need access to the other side of the main line, I'll deal with it then. With that in mind, don't get too attached to this hill I'm raising now. It will be abandoned as I continue planning this bridge. We are not high enough yet. That's what I'm talking about. Such a shame. I will course correct in a couple minutes. But at least I dialed in the height that I will need to work with. The biggest casualty of that rethinking will be this bridge design. I would have loved to have it here. But I bet we have a lot of bridges in our future, so we can use it somewhere else later. There is no getting around it. I will have to move these high voltage power poles. I will even stop building the coal power plant to speed up the construction. This is where I decided to dump the double bridge idea. I simply wasn't a fan of the way it looked. I'll just go over the triple branch tracks for now. If we need access to the other side of the main line, I'll build another overpass closer to Mikhailovia. Because of the increased length, the pillars of that nice looking arched bridge are right on top of the tracks. So I'll just use the simple curved model for now. The gentler curve will also allow us to connect to the existing roads a bit more naturally. Since we cut power to the helicopter CO, we will need to rely on Lukovo to bring in the concrete that we will need for the first phase of construction. At this point, we no longer need these spacer tracks, so we can remove them now. Now we only need steel and electro components for the power lines, and we are fully back in business. By the way, a small crash cut incoming. This time it was because of the road, instead of the rails. Anyways, I forgot that the farthest of the 3 new houses was out of range for the school, and good thing that I checked up on it, and saw that people were unable to work because of the lack of education. Building a school in this small empty spot will be perfect. Also, we might as well connect up the new overpass to the normal road network. We only needed to add that dirt service connection to allow traffic to continue. There. Once it's all built, it will look like it was all planned like that from the start. No signs that it was retrofitted after the fact. Well, that's not quite true. I will leave a small reminder in the end. I'm just glad I could use most of the old road while the new overpass was under construction, and only needed to add a relatively short dirt road segment. Very handy during winter. And the power is back on. That should speed things up a bit, now that the helicopters can move concrete and asphalt again. At this point, I was relatively confident that at the very least, our current electro component production will be able to keep up with the demands of our construction industry. I will tell the rail DOs to start treating that warehouse as the source, instead of the customs house. And to give the electronics assembly plant priority, I will only let them go for a pickup if the stocks are above 20%. And since I was messing with the rail DOs, I also disabled the original one's bitumen delivery assignments. It seems I forgot to do it when I decided to use the dedicated distribution line method. It seems the storage tanks are still struggling with power. But I was a bit over it at this point. They are the only ones complaining, and they are only used intermittently, so I'll let them be. I know that strictly speaking, the power plant itself will be enough to power the surrounding buildings. But, it's not a good idea to make them depend on each other. Should the station ever stop working, that would shut down the conveyor tower, cutting off its coal supply. So, I will use a substation powered by the oil power plant, just to be sure. Also, I'm quite convinced that dangling cable cars over electrical wires isn't the wisest thing to do in real life. I might consider rebuilding the connection with underground wires, if I ever get too uncomfortable with the idea of workers in metal boxes being so close to them. But for now, I'll let it slide. While we wait for all these new constructions to complete, let's fix up some of the unfinished footpaths around Mikhailovia, and might as well fill in some of the gaps with some extra gravel, like we did in Mutograd. Ever since I said that name submissions slowed down, I got quite a few new ones. But, by the time I got around to recording this episode, I only had 2. And since I only have one suitable area to name at the moment, I just flipped a coin. So, from now on, the second construction area will be called Adamski. Or should I say Adumski? Let me know which one you'd prefer me to use. The lumber yard is already taken, which I will name in the next episode. Everything else is either already taken, or too inconsequential to waste one of your names on it. So, as new important areas get added, at least I'll have a couple names to use. It seems only the bridge remains of the new overpass construction. Once that's done, we can remove the old road. I noticed that in recent years, a lot of the old vehicles started to go off the market. I should really start building that vehicle assembly plant in the near future. Okay, the bus stop can reach the processing plant. I mean, just looking at the distances, it was already a safe bet, but it's still good to get confirmation. Ever since we removed workplace priorities in Mikhailovia, the heliport for construction workers started to become more busy. I think we can afford to build another small landing pad at the construction office, just to add a third passenger helicopter. And the bridge is done. Time to get rid of the old road. I won't delete it all the way. I think leaving it open with that concrete barrier at the end actually kind of fits the industrial area. I wanted to see how it would look from the perspective of vehicles on the road, but it seems we need to make a small detour to the gas station first. Yeah, I could have just switched to another bus, but I had a lot of time to kill at this point. With the new school open, the next biggest issue is the lack of childcare. Building a kindergarten on the other side of the bus stop will help with that. But before I get to that, I will go around and see if I manage to get all the little holes with the ground textures. I got most of it, but not all. A real shame the Mi-6 helicopter went off the market recently. That was a real powerhouse when it came to moving workers around. While I like to keep my rail tracks free of trees, I think the tree remove tool is a bit too zealous, so I'll just add this little strip to fill in this area. They are still at a comfortable distance away from the rails, but now the spaces in between are a bit less barren. Okay, with the distractions dealt with, I finally remembered that I had a kindergarten to build. It just barely fits. But with these ground texture additions, I think it will be right at home aesthetically. At this point, the last remaining active project is the power plant area once more. I wanted to reach the point where only the processing and the power station itself were the only things left to build by the end of the episode. With the main roads done, we can start finalizing the cableway going up to the mine. With that, as soon as we have power, the cable cars will start going back and forth. When this fire is extinguished, you'll see that half of the grain reserves for the food factory is already used up. One silo is empty, and the other one is not completely full. And it's already March. We really need that new farm fairly soon. Even the mine is done. We are close to wrapping things up for today. By the way, while looking at the mine, I noticed that there was a crime reported from it. I did check, and unfortunately, we cannot add helipads to the police station. A bit of a shame, would have been a nice addition to the Michalovia cityscape. Alright. For all intents and purposes, the mine is ready for business. At the very least, we can buy the buses, and set up their route between Michalovia and the bus stop. Because of the distances, I'll go with the full starter pack of 8. We will need to keep an eye on it, to see if this is frequent enough to keep the power plant staffed 24/7, especially during the winter months. But before that, I was rudely interrupted by a fire in one of the new storages in Adamski. Okay, let's buy those buses, before I get distracted again. I'll make a quick check on the state of our component stocks, before calling it a day. Anyways, let's see what we can do in the next episode. At this point, the construction of the new power plant is on autopilot, in more ways than one. The only thing I'd like to add to the setup is a high voltage line going straight to the NATO border. The sooner we start selling something to them, the sooner we will get enough dollars to start buying their blueprints. And right now, the most convenient export we can do is electricity. If I was desperate, I could squeeze in a cargo helipad for the mechanical components warehouse, and set up an air delivery service. But I don't think we are that much in need of dollars. I think the two main projects for next time will be the vehicle assembly plant, and the beginnings of the new farm. As I said, we are dangerously close to the limits of our food production capabilities, for both bread and meat. So I think I will quickly start construction on that car factory, and then concentrate on the farm. That valley we chose to build it in is quite far away from the main line of our rail network, so it will take quite a while for Nightingale and Sunflower to reach the area. In the meantime, we can use trucks to deliver the goods to the existing warehouses. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you did, dropping a like and subscribing to the channel just might motivate me to make more. Until then, see you later.